Okay, so recently I attended the Toronto Real Estate Board's market review and outlook for 2020, and it was insightful to say the least, because Toronto's chief city planner was there, the Honorable Steve Clark, Minister of Housing and Affairs, was there, and of course the usual suspects, Jason Mercer of the Toronto Real Estate Board, the Altus Group, and Ipsos, who recently did a survey of home buyers and had lots of data and insights to share with us. And so I just thought I would share some of that information, the data, the insights, the analysis with you. And because I'm just nice like that. And it already confirmed everything I knew instinctively already working in this business, which I regularly share with you, my dedicated and loyal audience. So usually around this time, I do my signature predictions and opportunities video early on in the year, every single year. And so this will give you a pretty good idea of what the market will look like over the next 10 to 12 months. But before we get into all of that, let's just get into what the numbers look like for January, this past January of 2020, where the market was unusually hot for this time, posting 4,581 transactions, which is a 15.4% increase from January of last year. Because as we all know, January was slow last year because we were impacted by the legislative and policy changes, and the market was just a little bit slower overall for the past year and a half. But since around mid last year, after all of the negative news was absorbed by buyers, we started seeing buying activity pick up once again in the second part of last year, which has carried along with it some of that momentum early here in 2020. If you're gonna make a move, you better make a move early, guys, just letting you know. So bidding wars are back, listing inventory is low, which means we're poised for another run in prices, and a pretty strong one. And there was an interesting point that Mr. Mercer mentioned during the presentation, which is that in normal, typical market conditions, whenever the prices go up, you end up seeing more listings and more people coming out and selling their houses to take advantage of the market. No. This is not Toronto, because people live and die in their properties literally before they actually let them go. And the general overall direction is we're still going up. So if buyers are once again coming out in full force, listing inventory is low, and sellers are not really in a rush to sell, I think you can connect the dots and come up with your own answer. Let me repeat, the market will not be slow this year. They are predicting a rebound of detached homes here in the city, because as we know, over the last little while, condos have been quite hot and prices have risen quite dramatically for condos. But that gap now is actually not so big anymore between condos and houses. And so it's definitely going to be a very strong year to take advantage of upsizing your property, because the conditions are just right for that. So TREB has basically said that they don't expect any major policy changes. So on that front right now, it's fairly stable. Interest rates were going a little bit higher, but they're fairly stable again, and that the demand for Toronto never really went away. We have an insatiable appetite for property here. And so all those policy changes really only had a psychological impact and just sort of delayed the buying for many people sitting on the sidelines, and now they're actually ready to come back into the market. In fact, they're jumping into the market. And it started happening in the second half of 2019. Okay, so now I'm going to jump into something called the speed numbers round. So I'm going to drop some numbers and analytics and stats for you, and then I'm going to explain to you what those actually mean. Are you ready? Of course you're ready. You were born for this. Okay, so 78%. 78% is the number of Torontonians who are in the market who still want to work with a realtor. Because all the information's out there right now. All the data, sold statistics, that's all out there. But people still feel comfortable, or they feel more comfortable working with somebody in making one of the biggest decisions that they will ever make. And this is very much in line with surveys done over the last 2 decades in the US, where they've had the data released and open for a really long time. 70 to 80% of consumers still wanted to work with a realtor when purchasing their home. 8.5 years. Okay, so 8.5 years is the average length of time that people will stay at one home or property. Obviously, that number is significantly lower than when our parents purchased homes and lived there for 20, 30, or even 40 years. This is clearly because of the diversity of choices out there, from condo living to townhouses to detached homes. And when your family grows and you literally run out of space, then you need to upsize and you need to move. So as a young person in today's world, you're probably going to move 2, 3, maybe 4 times in your lifetime. And of course, affordability plays a very small part in that equation as well. Excuse me, a big portion of the equation. Of course, family formations have changed as well, where families are growing, but also deforming, dissolving, breaking up. There's no nice way to say it, okay? Okay, so 51% of survey respondents who recently purchased a home said that they put 20% down or more, and a whopping 33% had more than 25% down. Again, this doesn't surprise me, because most people don't want to pay the extra premiums for mortgage insurance, so they'd rather just wait longer, save up, and then not have to pay that extra premium. However, there are cases where that's actually an incentive and a benefit for you. Even though you're paying a higher monthly cost, you're committing less in cash. We can talk more about that in private if you're interested. Okay, so here's a really big stat, and it says a lot about the stability and the strength of the Toronto real estate market and its buyers. 84% is the number of survey respondents who said they were confident that they could handle a 2% increase in mortgage rates, which is basically the stress test qualification to begin with. So what that says to me is Torontonians are highly qualified. It's not like what happened in the US, where people were not qualified and the banks were throwing money at them. So what that tells me with buyers factors is A, they've got very strong, stable employment. They're saving up and making sure that they're financially able and responsible in order to purchase a property. And they wouldn't be doing it if there wasn't a need for it and they weren't ready for it. Got some deep pockets there, eh, Toronto? That or some really good safe jobs. So 12% is the decline in the number of people who said they are likely to purchase a detached home since 2015. So they did the survey in 2015 and it was 54% of the people said they wanted to buy a detached home, which was still already a pretty low number, but that number seems to be declining because of obviously affordability. So this is probably more a function of the increase in home prices and mortgage qualifications. And here's what Trepp predicts in terms of sales numbers for 2020. They're expecting around 97,000 transactions this year. So we're definitely looking at a strong year, and they're looking at an average price of around $900,000, which is a pretty big number considering where we were last year. Last year we were floating in the 800,000 range, so that's quite a big jump. And so I think we're looking at some pretty significant moves in the detached home segment. So if you're thinking about buying a detached home in Toronto, you definitely want to make a move this year as soon as possible. Try and snag a deal. Try and buy before other people come out of the woodwork, and you definitely want to give us a call so we can help you cash in, sell your property, and buy your next one so that you're winning on both ends. So hit subscribe, leave a comment, send me a message. Let's set up some time to chat so we can work out your situation individually. And thanks for watching. Bye for now.